ScienceKirby Reborn asked me if I could talk a little about what I thought the future of Russia would be. And I'm fearful for Russia's future, short term. Short term. The main problem with Russia is kind of like the same problem we're having, is there's a certain demographic that believes all of the fantasies and the conspiracy theories and the divisiveness that drives people to hate one another. Russia has spent a lot of time, effort, money, and vodka over the last 50 years to convince especially the older population now, that they should believe everything that the Russian propaganda tells them. Well, that's death. That's destruction, failure, economic collapse, social insecurities, crime rates increasing, financial institutions failing, lack of investment from other countries. It's just there's nothing good short term about what Vladimir Putin has caused. Vladimir Putin had caused this. This was a one-man war. And unfortunately, we've seen a few of those in the last few decades. One man, okay? One. It's tragic. You can see what's happening already. The Russian people must think, is the whole world against us? Is the whole world against us? I mean, we're looking at China and India as, some of the only, major countries that are willing to talk to us. And even then, it's barely now, okay? All of the talk of using nuclear weapons. Wait a minute, you started this. You want to bitch about people sending F-16s to Ukraine, but if you look at history, like unfortunately people like me do, you sent aircraft everywhere. Libya, Syria, Vietnam. You were absolutely participating, sometimes even with your own pilots. Okay? I short term. This is long term. I don't know. I see. You look now and you see the fires that are burning out of control. You see the brain drain that happened when, Putin decided to start this fascist, aggression. The brain drain. Man. See, these people are not going to go back. What they're doing right now, this very minute, right now, is they are attempting to start their lives over away from Russia. People aren't fleeing and then waiting 5 years and then going back and becoming Russia's next generation of entrepreneurs or software creators or, inventors of any kind, small business owners. These were the brightest and the best that fled because they understood the truth and what was going to happen. That's why they're having to scrape prisons. Okay, Russia doesn't want to do a national, everybody's going to war thing because, well, I think Putin actually believes that there could be a popular uprising if he attempted that. They're broke. NATO has grown instead of shrunk. Everything that he wanted to accomplish has gone sideways or backwards. Short term, I see just the most horrible things for Russia. I don't believe if Vladimir Putin tomorrow morning fell down an elevator shaft onto some bullets, I think somebody just as despotic and despicable would move in right behind him. Because the population is uneducated, propagandized to the point where they're stupid when it comes to their own future and making choices that would benefit their future. Short term? No, There's going to be that large portion of the older generation that didn't flee that are going to believe everything Putin says, and they think that we're Russia, we can't lose. They have no idea what's going on or the murders that their military has committed. I don't see anything good short term for Russia. And when I say short term, I'm talking about the next 15 years, decade and a half before they can start to recover from this debacle. More countries want to join defensive groups against Russia. They blackmailed their way right out of, pumping money out of the ground. Gas and oil, Putin tried to use that as a weapon. And this is what happens to blackmailers. Most people will just say, well, fuck you then. Just tell everybody, I don't care. I'm not giving you another dime. I'm not going to be blackmailed every 6 months because you're holding this over my head. And so that's what people thought about Russian gas and oil, and they just started making new deals. He took one of the primary sources. I mean, what are you going to buy from Russia now? Diamonds and nesting dolls? Is that what you're going to buy from Russia? I mean, granted, they're one of the world's largest titanium suppliers, but carbon products have pretty much started to compete with titanium in a lot of, commercial uses. They lost their best and their brightest. That's one of the hardest things is those people are going to start lives elsewhere if they can. The problem right now is everybody looks down on Russians so much that those same very people are having a hard time finding careers and jobs in other countries. So, I don't short term, I just see nothing but financial and social hardships for the next 10 years for Russia. And, it's unfortunate that you have this, Russian, older population sitting at home with one fucking TV channel, kind of like our, circus with Fox News and One America and those clowns that just want to feed red meat to an angry base because they're just angry. They're just angry. That's all. They're mad and they need to be fed madness every day to satisfy them. And they'll tune in to get their madness every day like a drug. Well, that's kind of how Russian television is. That's their security. That's the older population. That's their security, is that everything's okay. Everything's fine. Russia is the best country in the world. Russia can do no wrong. You know what I mean? And that doesn't help your country at all. When you let the fucking crazies take over, okay, in 2024, the United States is going to bitch slap these nut job far-right maniacs into the curb. You watch. 2024 is going to be the Republican crazies' worst nightmare. And the sane Republicans know this. They had a chance to stop it, but you see it was too... They fermented so much hate in a certain population of America that now they can't get them off that drug. They can't get them off the hate drug into let's do the people's work. No, the people's work is now forming committees that are circuses to try to protect the nut jobs. You know what I mean? Oh, George Santos, let's protect him, but we're going to impeach Joe Biden. It took me about 30 minutes of reading on this whole Biden thing to go, oh my God, these fucking people are nut jobs. Hey, look at what Donald Trump's immediate family benefited from his time in office. And you're just shocked that Republicans would have the fucking balls to talk about what Hunter Biden might have done. Disgusting. He's only got the one son right now. And you're talking about, 3 family members of Trump that benefited, $650 million, 20, copyrights. It's just, when you look at when you look at the disgusting, amount of money that flowed into Trump, you don't have to be a genius to figure out the truth, okay? In Russia, there is no figuring out the truth. There is no secondary source of information that isn't controlled by the state where you can ferret out the truth for yourself. It's controlled to the point where they're going to destroy the next 15 years in Russia, because even after they lose this war, Russian television, RT, is going to be telling the population that they won. Okay, we beat everybody, and we beat the West, and we beat NATO, and we beat all these people. Everyday average older Russian has no fucking idea that the Ukrainians are doing the fighting because they're fighting for their country. Russians are fighting for one guy's twisted fucking nightmare dream of becoming the next Russian czar in history, where everybody praises Putin for the next 50 years. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. I see the next 15 years as downhill. And then it might take another decade for them to bottom out and start to climb out of the rut they've created, or that Putin's basically dug for them. The trenches, right, is kind of analogous to what's going on in Russia, right? Everybody hiding in trenches from the truth instead of artillery. I don't know. I just see bad, because there's no one going to step forward above all. There's no one sane and rational that wants to make Russia a safe, better, accepted, country in the world as it is now. It's looked down upon by the majority of countries, and even the ones that are not siding with Russia but not chiding them or degrading them are making deals to fuck Russia. It's everything that's being done is so other people can take advantage of Russia being in the state that it's in. They're not doing this because they want to help Russia. India and China, they're doing this for their own self-gain. And who loses? The Russian people. So, yeah, brain drain, economics, sanctions. Yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. After that, I don't know. I think maybe because, if you're going to take 15 years, you're going to remove that demographic, okay, that is holding the country back through ignorance and lack of education. So it's possible 15 years from today that there'll be a new group that steps forward, kind of like what's happening in the United States and why the Republicans are all freaking out, because the generation that's coming up, they can't stand Republican ideals. They're all smart enough. They have devices in their fucking pocket that can give them information anytime they need it. And they're for the environment. They're for justice. They're for inclusion. They're for, yes, being your brother's keeper, okay? They stand much more for my ideals than they do for the Republicans, and the Republicans are terrified. This is not about changing the social demographic through race. It's about the changing demographic from everyday Americans that are now starting to come of age, who've witnessed for themselves the change in the Republican Party and just how bad it's gotten. Russia doesn't, have the ability for this next coming generation over the next 15 years. They don't have the same access to information. So that's why it's going to take longer. I can tell you in 2024, the Republicans are fucked. But I can't say that for Russia until 15 years. Then maybe the demographic will start to understand that, this just doesn't work for us. We can't sell nesting dolls as our, prime nesting dolls and titanium as our only sources of, gross national product. And now it looks like timber's not even going to be available because the entire country's burning down because of climate change. So yeah, it's tragic. It really is. It's tragic because the number of people that are going to suffer and have suffered because of one man, Vladimir Putin.